The stars had seen countless species rise and fall. Civilizations built empires across light years, waged wars that turned suns dark and vanished before the cosmic clock even ticked twice. But among all, one name had once whispered through the void: humanity. For eons, their name was followed by silence, for no one had seen them in ages. Some said they had destroyed themselves. Others said they had ascended beyond material existence. Yet all agreed on one truth: they were gone. When the Arthenic Dominion rose to power, spreading across galaxies like wildfire, they laughed at the ancient myths of earth-born warriors. To them, humanity was a forgotten story told to frighten children. But deep in their archives lay a phrase preserved from the old alliance treaties. It said, "Humanity's borders are closed. Trespass at your own peril." The warning was over 1,000 years old. The Dominion ignored it. Their fleets were vast. Each ship was powered by a core that could split moons. Their armies numbered in the trillions. When they reached the edge of human space, a region sealed and uncontacted for generations, they expected a dead world. Sensors detected no transmissions, no energy fields, not even a whisper of life. So the Arthenic High Council voted. The seal would be broken. The first invasion fleet crossed the line of demarcation that had glowed faintly in the void for centuries. A wall of drifting satellites still powered, still watching. The moment the Dominion ships passed, every star within 200 light-years went silent on their scanners. They were cut off. Command could no longer reach them. It was dismissed as a communications glitch. Inside the fleet, Commander Relin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Spear of Dawn. His voice echoed through the chamber as he ordered scans of nearby systems. What they found confused them. Worlds long dead, planets that should have been barren, now pulsed with faint power signatures. Artificial, deliberate, steady. They landed on one of them, a world covered in ash-gray plains and silent mountains. On its surface stood monoliths made of black metal, rising from the ground like teeth. They emitted no energy, yet their structure defied analysis. Every attempt to probe them ended in static. Then came the sound. A low hum, resonant and deep, sweeping through the ground beneath their boots. The monoliths began to shift, each turned toward the sky. And then, light. The monoliths opened, releasing waves of electromagnetic pulses that disabled half the fleet in orbit. Systems crashed. Engines died. Panic swept through the command channels. Before they could react, something appeared in the sky above them, a shape that blotted out the stars. It was not sleek or elegant like Dominion warships. It was brutal in design, sharp-edged, armored, and ancient. Its hull bore scars from battles millennia old. Across its side were markings written in a language no Dominion scholar recognized, but one word was translated by old databases still in the archives. Eternal. The ship's presence sent shivers through every soldier on the ground. They fired their weapons toward it out of fear, but the energy bolts dissolved before they reached the surface of its hull. The air around it shimmered as if reality itself bent to its will. A voice echoed through every communicator, clear and calm. Unauthorized incursion detected. You have entered the sovereign territory of the United Human Systems. Leave immediately. Relin's officers looked at each other, unsure. Human Systems? That name was extinct. No such government existed. Relin ordered a reply, an arrogant demand to identify themselves. The voice returned, emotionless. This is your only warning. Then the Eternal fired. It did not fire beams or torpedoes. Instead, a sphere of blue light formed before its hull and vanished. A second later, half the Dominion fleet was gone. No explosion, no wreckage, just absence. Panic consumed what remained. Ships turned to flee, engines flaring, but space itself twisted around them. Gravity wells, artificial ones, dragged them back. One by one, they vanished into silence. The invasion fleet ceased to exist. When word of this reached the Dominion's core worlds, disbelief turned to rage. They sent another fleet 10 times larger. Entire sectors were emptied of soldiers to fuel the campaign. They would crush this phantom human defense and erase the insult to their power. The second fleet entered human space. This time they detected no monoliths, no ships, no signals. For a time it was quiet. Days passed. Then their long-range sensors picked up motion. Dozens of objects. Then hundreds. Then thousands. The sky filled with ships. Human ships. They were not uniform. Some looked like they belonged to different eras. ancient designs side by side with sleek, massive carriers that defied modern engineering. It was as if every age of human warfare had returned together. The Eternal led them. The Dominion fleet commander, driven by pride, ordered a full assault. Beams of plasma tore across the void. Missiles streaked forward. Space lit up like dawn, and yet every shot missed. Not because of evasive maneuvers, but because the targets weren't where they seemed. Human ships phased through the attacks, their forms flickering as though time itself bent around them. They returned fire not with beams but with bursts of kinetic energy so dense they cracked space-time. Dominion ships shattered under the invisible blows. Within minutes the battle was over. Only one Dominion ship survived, its engines crippled, its hull burning. A transmission came from the Eternal. A human face appeared, calm, weathered, eyes cold and resolute. "You were warned." The feed ended. That single survivor returned to the Dominion capital, its crew broken and silent. Their reports were dismissed as madness, but when probes were sent to verify, they found only empty space where hundreds of billions of tons of warships had once been. And then the message arrived. It appeared simultaneously in every Dominion system, broadcast through every medium, every wavelength, every thought-linked network. It was short and simple. Humanity does not seek war, but we do not forgive invasion. You are to leave our border unchallenged. Go ahead. Try us again. The arrogance of the message infuriated the Dominion. The High Council convened for war. They summoned their most powerful weapon, a planet-sized fortress, the Omnis Crucible, built to erase entire civilizations. When the Crucible entered human space, it unleashed storms of antimatter across solar systems, burning everything in its path. But what it found was not resistance, it was emptiness. Human space appeared devoid of life. Planets were gone, stars extinguished. Then on the edge of their sensors, something stirred. The stars they had just destroyed began to reignite one by one. Light returned, and from that light emerged a single figure. Not a ship, not a fleet. A sphere, the size of a moon, surrounded by a field so dense that time waves bent backward around it. The Eternal had returned, but it had changed. Its hull now glowed with rivers of light. It was no longer just a warship, it was alive. The humans aboard had merged with their creation, becoming something beyond biology, beyond mortality. The Eternal spoke once more, and its voice was like the pulse of the universe itself. You destroy what you do not understand. You invade what you cannot control. You believe power is measured in fire. Ours is measured in endurance. The Crucible fired. The blast consumed space itself, erasing the region from existence. When the light faded, the Eternal remained, not even scratched. The humans struck back, not with weapons, but with control. Space folded around the Crucible, crushing it into itself. The fortress vanished, compressed into nothing. The Dominion screamed through their channels, but it was too late. Their empire began to crumble, not through battle, but through collapse. Systems went dark. Gates failed. Fleets disappeared without trace. And in the center of that chaos, human ships appeared, not to conquer, but to observe. They watched as the Dominion tore itself apart under the weight of its own arrogance. When the last Dominion beacon fell silent, humanity sent one final transmission to the wider galaxy. It spoke not in threats, but in truth. For centuries we were silent because we needed to be. We saw the galaxy devour itself in greed and pride. We built, we waited, we learned. You called us extinct. You thought our silence meant fear. You were wrong. We were patient. The broadcast spread faster than light, carried on quantum echoes that reached every corner of the known cosmos. Empires that heard it trembled. Some shut their borders. Others sent emissaries of peace. The message concluded with the same words written on the ancient seal that once marked human space. Go ahead. Try us. After that, the humans vanished again. No trade, no contact. Only their borders remained, glowing faintly in the darkness, a silent reminder. Ships that approached too close turned back on their own. Navigation systems overridden by something unseen. For centuries after, stories spread across the stars. Tales of wandering ships encountering a lone human vessel that appeared from nowhere, offered a warning, then disappeared again. Some said the humans now lived among the stars themselves, beyond material form. Others believed they still watched, unseen, protecting the balance of the universe. The Arthenic ruins became forbidden zones. No one dared enter the old battlefields where the Eternal had fought. There, space was twisted. Light bent wrong, and echoes of ancient human transmissions whispered endlessly in the static. A scholar from the Zyran worlds once decoded fragments of those echoes. What he found changed his understanding of history. It was not just war humanity had mastered, it was understanding. They had learned to shape reality with knowledge, not just force, and so,